welcome to the Coffee with a Commissioner podcast. Junior Masandi is my guest today. Have I pronounced that right, Julian?
No. Julian. It's Junior.
Junior.
Yeah. It's actually, in French, it's Junior. My friend's actually
Junior.
Junior Masandi, but...
Junior Masandi.
Yeah.
Right, thank you. So, tell us who you are then. Yeah,
so my name is Junior Masandi, and I've lived in Teesside since I was 10 years old, and I'm 34 soon. I grew up on Linthorpe. In Linthorpe, I went to St. David's School, and then worked my way up until now. I am a trustee for Taste of Africa, North East Charity here. I am a digital marketing, publication communications delivery tutor on apprenticeships, and also a marketing professional. And alongside that as well, I'm a mentor for quite a lot of young people that come into the country as well.
Okay. So moving here at 10 years old, what was that like moving to a new country at 10 years old? Because it's not like you were a baby and you'll remember lots about it.
Yeah. I remember the shock of the cold weather coming off the plane. That's so true. I actually remember coming off the plane and we had shorts on and t-shirts and it was September when I landed here and it was freezing. And I remember going to TK, I think it was TK Maxx or something like that, and got a big parka coat just to cover myself because it was really that cold. But it was different. It was a cultural change for me moving here. Obviously coming from an African country where a lot more people are free and then you can do a lot of things. And I came from also a quiet-ish, wealthy kind of family as well. So when I grew up, when we were in Congo, I was like living quite well. Then coming here to then be in the cold, fighting against, because we were one of the early families that came here that was also black as well. So you were dealing with the being different to everybody else and walking on the streets and everybody's looking at you. So it was a shock at being that young as well. So we had a lot of different scenarios where we were fighting your way through life to an aspect.
Was it just you and your parents, brothers, sisters?
So there's 5 of us. We moved with my stepmom because my dad had 2 wives. So one of them moved here. So my siblings are children, and I was the only one that was not linked to them. So that's how we ended up here.
Yeah, and you've managed to get your accent yet? You haven't gone all Linthorpe on us?
No, not yet. But that's because I've travelled quite a lot as well. So I've not just lived just in Teesside. So I've spent some time in Dubai, some from France, and then I went back home quite a few times as well.
Yeah.
So my accent is kind of like people say, and I've recently just came back from East London as well. Yeah. So there's some twang of East London in it as well, and there's quite a few different things as well.
So fully international.
Yeah.
I can only begin to imagine how difficult it might have been for a young person back in the late 90s, early 2000s. What did that look like? How did you feel? What was the worst part about it?
Okay, so we came as a refugee because my dad. So if you look in the Congolese history, the president, not the recent one before that, his father was murdered. So my dad worked in the presidential office. So we had to leave because he was also he was also a risk as well. Mm-hmm. So we moved. So we left everything behind and we came here as refugees. So living the life of a refugee was completely different because you literally living off the basics and trying to rebuild again from zero when coming from having a huge compound with 3-4 cars to then having nothing and just trying to get yourself through the cold weather as well. So that was a challenge in itself as a young person because I came when I was 10 years old, so I didn't fully understand it. And then I was my siblings also not understanding it, and they were asking, "Why can't we get this? Why can't we get that? Can I get this?" So you're consistently dealing with that. And then growing up as well. So my mom, my stepmom, and the young children all moved to Coventry at that time as well. So we left Middlesbrough and we moved to Coventry, and it was coming towards my last year of school. So I moved to Coventry and had different challenges there as well because I've gone from actually being in Teesside where is the very small amount of black people in Teesside to in Coventry where it's very populated with black people.
Yeah.
But then there was a lot more crime within that area. So then I went from one to another, and that nearly got me into a lot of trouble because I got into a fair few fights because I just trying to find my way around things. And then I moved back to Teesside. I had to go through college, put myself through college, and everything else just by myself. So so that's where I think was the most challenging part of my life because on day to day you are hustling or you're trying to find where you're going to eat from or what you're going to do, where you're going to stay. So I spent a lot of time surfing as well. So just from different friends' house without them actually knowing I was actually homeless. But that's what I just kept on doing for quite a while. until I've got myself settled down. So I think that was the hardest part of my.
And when did you find that settling down moment then? So you went through college.
Yeah.
Did you go to university?
I did. I went to Teesside University and I did marketing and advertising. Actually, just before I went to university, I met Auntie Shade, who's the founder of Taste of Africa. So that's why I've been in charity for 18 years now. So I met her just before I went to university, and by then, she kind of helped me settle down a little bit because she gave me like a mother figure to just check in on me all the time. So whenever many opportunities had happened, she kept offering him out my ways. There's all these things happening. Do you want to earn a little bit of money? You can do this. So that's what I get a little bit of money from. And then I went to university. For my first year of university, I struggled because I wasn't settled. So I left university and started working in nightclubs and bars and nightclubs, earning money there, which then started paying for my housing. So that point I started getting myself my own little place just down in Stowe Street, just around the corner in Lathrop. That was the first time I got my own place. And then that's where I started settling in, get a bit of work. And as soon as I got myself to a point where I felt like I could go back to university, I went back to university, didn't finish.
Okay. Do you think you've seen much change in Middlesbrough over the last 20 years?
Oh, absolutely. It's been a drastic change in Middlesbrough. There's, one, it's been a lot more diverse as well since I first came here. My word I hate the most is the word tolerant. I generally hate that word because you feel like you're putting up with something, but if you're utilising the way the British values talk about tolerance, I feel Teesside is becoming a lot more tolerant. People are becoming a lot more welcoming and a lot more open as well. So there's been a change. And also if you look at infrastructure, for example, the digital world within, because I work in digital, so Teesside itself is becoming very digital. So we've got this beautiful place in the Flock, for example. So a lot of it has changed. A lot of things have moved for the better, but there are still some ways of growth and development still within Teesside. That's why I keep coming back here every time I move away.
And you come back and you're involved with the charity Taste of Africa.
Yes.
So what do they do?
So Taste of Africa is a charity that predominantly was launched to celebrate Black History Month, just to kind of showcase who we are. Because if you look at the media back in the days, it's always like people are coming from Africa, black people, all the different views that people had of my culture and race. So Taste of Africa was there just to kind of showcase who we are as individuals, to come and say, so this is where we're very bright, vibrant, we got amazing food, we've got great fashion, so please just come and join us, get to know us a little bit more. So that started 20 years ago, it's 20th anniversary this year, 20 years ago, and so within that, it's also developed into the Black History Youth Awards, and also celebrating young people that do well within STEM, education, sports, and all the different criterias. So we support them, and also it's there for the mentorship as well, for mentoring those young people, because the challenges I had was settling in this country, was understanding how the system works, even how the policing works. For example, with this, like if you don't know, like automatically you have a barrier that goes up and you're scared of it, and you're scared. So then I have been able to talk from my experiences in dealing with young people and supporting them. So that's some of the work that we do. Alongside that as well, we do quite a lot of talks. We recently delivered a workshop within the police just around cultural racial microaggression as well, and understanding how to engage within the communities as well. So there's quite a lot of things that Taste of Africa do, and we just keep growing every single year as well.
So racial microaggression, what does that mean to you? So
racial microaggression is what I've learned a lot is not everybody's racist. And so I've got to watch how I word this. So not everybody's racist. However, some people don't know what specific words can trigger things within people. For example, like one of the words that I've utilized quite often is somebody go, I don't see black and white. That falls within racial microaggression, because you are dismissing what that person has gone through, being a black person within this country, because you don't want to understand or see what they've
and I'll be honest with you, I've used that phrase in the past. Yeah. I've seen it. And you come from a place where you think you've been fair and open, and I understand why I would say that, and you just think, well, everybody's the same. But then I do understand how, from your perspective, is very different. That statement is very different than what it is from my perspective.
I agree. And if we talk about, for example, like the protected characteristics. If you look at a disabled person, you wouldn't go, "Oh, I see myself as everybody else." You would actually help them to then move forward. So that's the aspect of what that potentially means. And by the way, I do not mean, sure, it's a wrong thing to say. I don't mean it's like it's not offensive.
It's education.
Yeah, absolutely.
And that I find that a lot.
And completely right. And I think that's what the conversation is about as well. And within that as well is being able to be open to have the conversation. Because when I got an example was when I delivered like a workshop to the police force, somebody actually said to me, said, "Do you mind if I ask you questions, Shreb?" I said, "Yes, absolutely. It's an open floor. Ask me." Obviously, I won't know every single answer the reason in the world. But if I don't know, I'll find out and let you know. However, I will talk to you from my own personal point of view and my own experiences as well.
And what was the question they asked you?
Okay, so the question was based around it was policing an area, and they could not stop the woman from being hysterics when they're arresting when they were arresting the partner. They couldn't understand why the woman was specifically in hysterics, so they tried to wait to calm her down, but she just not could calm until to a point where she got violent. My answer to that was, to be honest, I don't know exactly what she may have gone through. However, if you look at the culture or look at the country she's come from, the moment a police officer comes into your house and arrests your husband, majority of the time you will not see that husband again, or it will be beaten up. So something will always end up happening to that husband. So if she does not know how the police force works within this country, she may automatically just have that trauma of being like, "Oh my God, you take my husband away. I don't know if I'll ever see him again. I've got children in the house. Like, what's going to..." And she goes in hysterics.
And that makes absolute sense when you explain it like that.
Yeah, so there's so many different things within different cultures that people need to be able to get and understand. And I do also know that there are people that are very difficult to deal with, 100%. Wherever they come from, we will have those kind of people. But if you understand, you potentially also know how to best deal with the situation. And she explained to the woman, "It's going to be in this police station. This is what's going to happen. This and that. It'll be safe and everything else." And she understands that she will calm down, but it's being able to have that open conversation as well.
Really good question. And a really good answer.
Yeah.
Really good answer. So, staying on that theme then, obviously it was incredibly difficult for you growing up, and you're now passing those experiences on to both sides of the fence.
Yes.
So both with young people you work with and people who interact with those communities. What do you think the biggest learning we can all take from that is, from both sides then?
Biggest learning I think I've already touched upon is like everybody has their challenges, and everybody are individuals. And I think what we tend to see, we tend to group people in general, or this set of people are this way, or police officers are this way, or this group of people are this way. There are bad eggs in every single area, so that doesn't mean that everybody needs to be put in a bubble. So for me, I feel like there are always time for education and also getting to learn and understanding things, and just be curious, but in a very respectful way as well. Mm-hmm. I think that's what needs to be done.
I see things written down. So we talk about, and I suppose this comes into your microaggression. Yeah. We talk about BAME communities. We talk about black communities. Some people talk about people of colour. Is there a right or a wrong way to talk about other people's culture?
Personally, putting every culture that is not Caucasian together, and I think that is wrong, because everybody has their own different cultures and different ways they are. I'm not personally a fan of BAME. I don't. I prefer GGBLC as a black person. And there's people who talk about, for example, the word colour. That's not one of my favourite words, because I feel like everybody has some colour in some way, shape or form. So I always go just a black person. If it's a brown person, if it's a Pakistan. But it's best to ask that person what they want to want to be named as. But I understand a group of cohort of people just trying to understand. I don't know. I don't have the right answer for that, to be honest. If you speak to different people, they'll have different point of views on that on that as well.
I must say, I feel like that, because it's very much. I did some work with Lacadia and the Women's Network, which was brilliant. And I sort of really opened my eyes to some different challenges that they face. Mm-hmm. But from that work we did, that bridging the gap work my office did, you suddenly realise that what affects one community is completely different to what affects another community, yet we've grouped them together in many aspects. And that is a challenge. So what do you see the barriers are in Teesside for those diverse communities to really overcome, those non-Caucasian communities, if you like? What do you see the barriers for them to overcome?
Opportunities. I don't think opportunities comes as easy for some communities, it does from others. For example, if I talk about this South Africa, it's only been the last 3 to 4 years where we've been able to really knock on the door for the council or the police or to get the funding and the support that we need, and that's been after 15 years worth of work. So to get,
and why do you think that is?
Because engagement is one thing, which, to be honest, your office has been a lot better with in doing a lot of engagement work. If people don't know where to search or what to look for, it goes back to understanding how the system works in this country. If they don't know where the information is or where opportunities are or even where they can get the funding from, they will always not just do what they can with the little that they have. Because naturally, our culture is that we just deal with what we have. So it's just understanding where those opportunities are, and that also comes down to engagement work. And with engagement work, I'll just touch upon this. A lot of people have. I'm not talking about just your organization. I'm talking about a lot of organizations. They will do engagement work for a short period of time, and then think that's it. It's done. But what you forget is people move all the time. So, for example, if you look at the refugees, people will come and people will go. They'll get moved to different countries or different areas of the countries. For example, if you look at the police, there will be new police officers coming on board. So they understand how things go, not necessarily, because the engagement needs to be quite consistent as well. So I think that's where things need to become a lot better on.
Okay. And as a police force, we struggle to attract diverse communities into the role of a police officer.
Yeah.
Do you think that, again, that's culturally? Do you think that's because maybe experiences in other countries with police forces, with police officers? Do you think that's a barrier in itself to people joining Cleveland Police?
That's been an open conversation that we've had for the last couple of years, to be honest, even within South Africa, as there's not even enough diverse. But I think it then will come down to how many times, for example, have we had work experience with young people coming for work experience within the police force, for example, or get to understand what it's like to become a police officer, what opportunities they've got to become a police officer. And then you are right as well. So if you look at the experiences of people back home as well, it's completely different to what it is now. And also the other thing as well, the application form as well. At one point, I wanted to become a police officer, and the application form, I got lost in the application form. You feel like you're just going on for a long time, and it's not necessarily my forte to go through so much work as well. So those are little things that put barriers in, especially if you don't know how to complete. And okay, so the also thing as well, if you don't know how to, for example, handle the test or put the right words that needs to be in the applications, you naturally get knocked back quite quickly. So if you don't know how that works, you wouldn't be able to be successful.
And then that message sort of filters through those communities as well, doesn't it? It's difficult. It's too hard.
Yeah.
Right. It's really interesting. You mentioned earlier Black History Month.
Yes.
What would you say to people who says, why should we have a Black History Month? Why don't we have a White History Month? Because you've heard that rubbish.
I've heard that so many times.
Yeah, we've all heard that rubbish. So there's an easy answer, but I want to hear.
There is an easy answer, because if you look at school, if you go into school, for example, you look at the history, everything else is based around the white culture. So you don't really get to see what also impacts the Black community or Caribbean community. I've also brought into Britain as well. So it's a time. It's been added on as a celebratory month for people to get to engage with communities that they've never engaged with before. And I know primarily we've looked at the slavery aspect of things, but for me, I looked at Black History Month more as a celebration event. I like to be able to bring in and be like, you know what, I can just be myself for a month and then show you who I am as a real person. We can put loads of events on. Come and have a dance. Come and sing along and just have a really good time.
Do you feel you can't normally be yourself then?
It depends where I am.
Explain, please.
Good. Okay. So, actually, it was prior COVID, prior Black Lives Matter, for example. I felt like I was restricted to what I could be as a person. So I was seeing what was professional, was not professional. So, and some of it was just based on my own, I guess, experience rather than actually what is happening. So, for example, I was a young Black person going to a boardroom, and I was expected to just be proper. The way I was speaking and my mannerism had to be proper. And I kind of felt like I lost who I was as a person. I became like everybody else rather than just being myself. Then Black Lives Matter happened, and I felt like, you know what? Let me just be proud of who I am as a person. And that's why I became a lot more open with this discussion around race.
I know you've been in our custody suites at the police station here in Middlesbrough. Do you, just generally within the police, do you feel there is more we could do to really engage with our non-Caucasian communities?
It'll go back to the original thing that I've always said is consistently engaging with those communities, because at first there will always be a barrier, and everybody knows that the hardest thing is that first communication, because people are like, what do you want, kind of attitude. But the more you persist and the more you show that you actually want just to get to be part of them, understanding and get to know them, so you know how you can police them better, the walls, those eventually come down. And the other thing I was talking about is within the workshop as well is engaging with especially the community leaders as well, because they actually do tend to make life a lot more simpler, because people listen to community leaders. And I know for a fact within mine, if there's an elder from Black person that tells me to stop, I will literally show up and say, sit down and stop. And that's because an elder within my community, I respect them. Yeah. And that respect has been built over, it's not just days or decades, centuries old. Like, that's just the way our culture has always been. So then to be able to come in and be part of that, you also have to be able to come in wanting to know and understand our cultures as well. So that's what I think the police more needs to be able to do it a lot more as well. And like you said, I've been in the suite quite often, and one of my ones I remember quite well was an officer coming in without even asking anything, and he was very much like straight on the bump on top of me, and I said like, but you don't even actually know what happened. I'm not even the person that caused the chaos, and just end up with me having a little bit of a tussle with the police officer and maybe in the police cell for the night. But that's because he didn't know what happened. It wasn't me. I was stopping something from happening, but he jumped on top of me because you thought it was me, the aggressor.
And do you think he made that decision because of the colour of your skin?
I definitely think so. For that situation, I definitely 100% think so. But we were coming out and we're just settling things down. And those two guys, Caucasian fighting, we just came in to stop the fight. And for some reason, the first person I came for was me. Yeah. But we just, those things does happen, and it's not often, but it does happen.
Do you think we'll ever eradicate it?
I don't think so. I think if it would have been done by now. But I just feel like it just keeps getting worse. Not worse, it just keeps happening so many different times.
It's not about tolerance for me, it's about education. And it's about understanding that whilst I meet loads of people in my walk of life who I don't agree with.
I agree.
It doesn't make them bad people.
Yeah.
It just, and there are people that are very different to I am. Yeah. They're just different. We're just different. We're all just different.
Yeah.
And it doesn't matter whether the difference is the colour of our skin, the culture, the God we worship, the places we drink, the homes we live in. It's just different. Yeah. And it's no better or worse. So my final question for you. Tell me something about yourself nobody knows.
A lot of people believe I'm an extrovert, but I'm actually an introvert. I love to be at home and just stay at home and just watch TV and chill.
Right. Junior, thank you so much.
Thank you for having me.
For coming along, Coffee with the Commissioner. You've been a great guest. We're really looking forward to getting your episode out there and getting everybody to hear your view of the world and your passion for Teesside.
Thank you.
I really appreciate that. So we've been listening to Coffee with the Commissioner here at Flock in Middlesbrough. Thank you all, and I'll speak to you all again next time.